with the information would be more than 1,000 images when we relate to what that used to be. But BIM is so much more than a transition to 3D representation, and this is the formal definition that I like to use. So I've been teaching BIM since 2011, and I didn't change this even a single word or a comma. Okay, so it is a methodology. First of all, what is BIM? It's a method. Okay, and the method serves two purposes: to communicate and to share information. That's it. Okay, and actually it involves everyone and all the stages of construction. So all stakeholders and all the stages of the life cycle. So if we recap as construction, we are involved. So the global definition of BIM includes HB. Okay, and then exactly there's a digital model, and this digital model goes by software, and by using it, we can make very smart things with information. Okay, so it's just a way of standardizing information for better communication and better sharing, better planning, better everything. So everything I said is my classic definition for new construction, but I think it applies amazingly well for HB. Okay, so and of course, as Azhena was saying very well, there's the geometrical information and then the non-geometrical information, which ends up carrying very, very important meaning as well. But I understand that in HB, the geometrical information also carries the further significance than in construction, where everything is much more standardized. So geometrical information would be a further challenge. So, why now and not before? This is a question we need to ask ourselves, and fortunately, my answer, unlike the definition of BIM, has changed. So this is very different from what I would say in 2011 when I started working on this. So, first of all, hardware and software allow us to do things today that were sort of unthinkable 10 years ago, and even 5 years ago. So, this is really changing at a very strong pace. So, we are now able to do many, many things. And interoperability, which is the second chapter of my presentation. So, we now have these neutral formats that we can use to communicate between each other, and they actually work. And they are actually being expanded. For example, this, I think it was May or April, there was the confirmation of a new ISO standard for the interoperable format IFC that extends IFC for linear construction. So you can do highways, bridges, and everything that takes a lot of roads, whatever, and railways, tunnels. You can do it now with the BIM, with specific options that are tailored for the purpose. Okay, so HB someday maybe will have an extension in IFC format that will allow that some commonly agreed standards can exist for HB. Okay, nowadays it's not possible, but I'm not saying it's not possible. Nowadays it's not normalized, but this does not mean it's not possible, because highways and metro stations and tunnels were being made before, but we just have to customize a little more. So HB is still at the stage of customization, and will probably remain at customization because of the variety of things that we can have in HB as opposed to what we have now in construction. So standards and normalization is very important, and as we are in Europe, we are under the umbrella of the CEN committees and also the ISO standards. So this has evolved a long way. Also, nationally speaking, all the countries are starting to have their own rules that make specific demands on what you should do in BIM. And this is really on a good point now. The market demand. So in my country, I'm really sad that the bottom line government demand is still rising. In Italy, I know it's already for a few years, but the market is demanding. Even if the government is not demanding, the market demands, because we collaborate around all Europe. And I'm speaking particularly in my country where the government didn't wake up, but the companies are very mature, the big companies. Smaller companies, that's a different thing, but I will speak about. Okay? But the government demanded awareness now is undoubtful, and there are European mandates to do this, European rules, European countries. We are going now at the operational stage rather than in early adopters. Okay? So the object-oriented modeling and saved me a lot of work by showing several slides where the library of objects for HB is being built. So there are libraries of objects for new objects, and I wish I could say, oh, for new construction this is totally mature. It's not. Each country has their own independent rules and their own independent dictionaries, and we are still fighting within the entire, and I'm speaking only about Europe, within the entire Europe, how to connect the dictionaries from different countries. And I wish I could say, oh, there's one amazing country where the dictionary is centralized and we must follow that. There isn't. Okay? Norway is doing some amazing work on data dictionaries to connect with each other from a private company, but apart from Norway and some efforts in the UK, and of course in Italy, we know them, but there's no universal way that, for example, this is a boiler. What are the non-graphical information that I need for a boiler? This is not standardized. Okay? So the way to do the dictionary is standardized, but the actual dictionary is not standardized, but we can connect the dictionaries into different countries. So this is good news. HB is not late in regard to the other thing, because they also haven't yet standardized dictionary. So I think what is being done here is a very prominent thing, which can use the same tools that are being now initiated for the other thing. And one of the things is, of course, many data that we really put into our models, and then I don't really like to teach based on the space as an object. Yes, space is an object in them, and we need information such as volume, etc. And it's important for many aspects in HTML as well. And we have this capacity to use the objects as tools directly from libraries, and they will behave in very similar to this. So the bottom line of this that I wanted to say is, at the end of the day, it's easy to model things in BIM. It's inexpensive, and for being inexpensive, it becomes then something we can use without paying too much cost to the owners. And of course, then we have some amazing tools to do parametric modeling. So I would say this was back in 2015, where I said there's nothing we cannot do with BIM. With the current software capacities in 2015, this is 9 years ago, I supervised a dissertation with our electricity company in Portugal, where they were doing their dams and their auxiliary concrete devices and mouths to get water that are big channels and big tunnels with very complex geometries, and everything was possible with the actual visual programming that nowadays is being used. So from that point onwards, I don't even think there was an evolution. Everything just became easier and easier. So the evolution was only becoming easier because it was possible already then. And then the other thing, which is the visual component, which is something that is also being used even in small and medium enterprises, for example, in architectural offices, that even there's a very small one that is a very nice example. Only 4 permanent staff in the office, and they have a license of software. I don't really like to say the name, but I will say it. And then they bought the license of Landscape, which makes real-time rendering, and they interact with clients like this, while we are spin off the computer that's that, and we are doing technical stuff, and the client is seeing instant with the consequences, and at the same time is seeing this with the price. Oh, you want golden? It costs that much. So even for heritage, this is amazing to compare situations of strengthening, to show the reversibility of the operations, and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, I think technology is really there. And one of the things that is very fundamental to BIM is to start with the end in purpose, or with the purpose at the end in our minds. So if I am going to start a model, I need to know for which purpose. And depending on the purpose, several purposes are here. Depending on what you want to do with the model, you will start with more or less graphical detail, you will start with more or less mechanical information. And this is the central part of BIM. And I'm sorry, I will stop a little bit here because it's really one of the most important things in my presentation, in my opinion. We have several public owners asking for BIM for several years, but they don't know what they are asking for, because they just say, oh, I want BIM, and I need a BIM model because, yes, it's trendy to have BIM model, but in the end, they receive a BIM model, and they actually go to conferences that show, oh, it's our amazing BIM model, but then that's really, really in the coffee break. what we really do is we do these things where you take in quantities automatically from the bin model, or as an owner where you're checking the quantities were correct. Do you have a good report of the clashes that were avoided because bin was being used? And all of these nice things that you can do with bin, at the end of the day, they were, as we normally see in Portuguese, hammers. You know, so in the end they were actually even slower and they were more expensive. So the bottom line here is, if the owner knows what to ask, then the service will be provided. Most of the times the owner doesn't know what he's asking for, so then they get a nice refund, which is for me not nice. Okay, so I guess you managed to read here some nice things we can do. We can do visuals, we can do quantities. This is amazing from the point of view of who is paying for the investment, be private or public, of course. We can integrate the analysis software for this purpose. Maria Laura, our institute, and Elena is going to show some nice stuff, more likely. And compatibilization between the domains, architecture structures, etc., clash detection, very important for software connection. When construction is both in terms of time and money, so that's also for the operation management, which is facilities management. I should be grade 16, that's not the thing, and look at sustainability from outside, of course. So currently we are doing much to that. And if you think nicely, I don't think we need to add HB there, because HB is everywhere. Okay? HB is everywhere. So HB contains all this. So for me, HB is just built for an old structure, and it will have different information requirements. They are all the same. It's everything the same. HB is very special, but it's just more different. It's the same thing. We just need to standardize. Yes, it's the same. In the end, it's the same. You just have some different things, but you also have in tunneling and grading. So at the end, it's the same. So just some examples of what you get in class detection, which the automated way in which we are warned of problems that we were not aware. And you can encode rules. This is no longer class detection. This is a software which is solely verifying that one door is too near a corridor or something like that, and these are not collisions, these are just warnings. So softwares can have rules that can give us warnings. So one of the things that everyone is very excited in Europe about now is about digital building permits. So you can actually issue the permits from municipalities based on BIM, provided that the correct rules were taken into account about law. And of course, I brought this one here, which is one of the illustrations of facilities management, where you can actually manage your facilities. And there's a lot of affinity with what we do in facilities management and what we do in HVAC and conservation. Okay, so I think we can really look about at this. One of the bottom lines, which I even didn't put there, is that we use web-based software for the facility manager, not web to install anything, and we use interoperable formats so that if you change software, you keep the file where the information is. So this legacy of information is also very important for it. And I just use this, which is a video from, I think this is 2020 or even earlier, where one of the companies there in Warsaw, this is in Lisbon, right next to the Tigris River, where the suspension bridge is, and this is a museum for architecture, art, and technology. And it was not made in BIM in the first place, in the design stage, but the owner wanted to show construction could be made with BIM. So there was a permanent team of like 6 or 7 people modeling at the construction site to avoid problems and to better prepare the construction. And in the end, you can see the complexity that models can take. And I can just say something, which is by teaching BIM for so many years at the University of New York, most of the people here were my former students, and most of the young people that of this generation that come out of university, they can create models in a heartbeat. It's really quick. So the price of creating models is just plunging, and nowadays it's the price of the software licenses that it's giving us, but the solution is coming in. So, but before that solution is coming in, let's speak a little bit about interoperability. So interoperability is something that I used to have an Android phone. Now I have an iPhone, unfortunately, because now it's not so easy to explain because my computer is an Azhena. But let's imagine this is an Android phone. They actually use USB-C in the same way. This is interoperability. This is two systems that is the same charging port, even though they are from different manufacturers. Okay, so this happens all the time, and we are having, and the same happens in the electricity plus as well. So all the devices, regardless of manufacturer, are plugged in the same way. So it's a capacity to which two products, programs as well, and work together. Okay, so but in architecture and construction, why are we worried about interoperability? Because we want two things. When information flows from one person to another or one stakeholder to another, we want to accelerate the process of passing the information, and we want to minimize errors. My best explanation of interoperability problems is something that happened to me when I was a designer for structural concrete. Our office received the architectural plans from an architect, but the architect says, I'm not giving you my CAD files, I'm giving you PDFs. And this was the year 2000. In year 2000, there was no PDF vectorizer that would put you instantly in CAD. Nowadays, we can do that. But at the time, what we had was the draftsman together with me. We were looking at the architectural design, and we were line by line copying it in our CAD system, which was the stupidest thing we did with our time in our lives. Okay, and even worse than smoking. So with interoperability, we would have accelerated processes, and we would have minimized errors, which we did a lot then for sure. Okay, so and many of the times it's not the architect or not someone that didn't give the file; it's the file that came in a different format because we are using a different software. Okay, and we are using different ways of putting the information in the software. So for that, we had Building Smart International, that is a non-governmental society that was initially started in the United States. Even by initiative of Autodesk and several companies got together. This was in 1994, if I'm not mistaken, and they launched the first version of the IFC in 1997, and the latest came in 2024, IFC 4.3. I could speak about IFC 5, but I don't want to disappoint you because IFC 5, not disappointing, to make you scared, IFC 5 will change everything. So we'll all become old with IFC 5 because the type of formats that is being considered for IFC5 is the same they use for gaming. So Pixar and any other companies have an overall agreement where auto represents geometry, and we are going in that direction. But I would say that IFC5 is not ready within the next 10 years. Okay, so IFC5 is in the domain of research right now, but for immediate purposes, we should use IFC 4.3, which is the latest. And so Building Smart International is catering for this. The association is highly professionalized since 2005 with very high fees to enter the international charter. So for example, also enter recently Italy was there for forever almost. So we have the capacity to influence how the next regulations are coming in. And there are many committees going on, and Asian is definitely one of the subjects to be discussed there. And the things that the Building Smart institution does is to discuss the open meeting formats. And open meeting formats, the focus is mainly on IFC, which is the format, so how you can save an entire model with information according to certain standards and certain nomenclatures and geometrical standards as well. But then there are other formats, and there are many more than this. I just put this to the VCN and the IDS to show that there are open standards to other things than just store the information. For example, the VCF is a way to discuss issues. So if I am the owner and I receive an IFC from the architect and I don't like something in the model, I will point with my finger, I don't like that beam on the roof because, and the screenshot is saved, but also my location where I'm pointing at, and the other guy receives the information in his software exactly where I was pointing at what I'm complaining about, and we can have a dialogue in VCF. So VCF will be a format to discuss issues. Okay? So in engineering, this is also useful, of course. And IDS is something relatively new that everyone is very excited about. Oh, by the way, IFC means Industry Foundation Classes, which doesn't have much of a meaning, but the guys in Building Smart love to call it International Friendship Club. Sorry for saying this, but this is what we call it. But the VCF is BIM collaboration format, so it's the format for originally, and IDS is Information Delivery Specification. So IDS is a very interesting thing that allows you to say, when you deliver to me a model, the model must contain all doors which are identified because there's a category named IFC door with a label type, with a label manufacturer with capital M, manufacturer, and it must be filled in. Okay? And there should be also a label named fire resistance with capital F and capital R, and it should be with a label, with a filled in with a value that is bigger than 60 minutes. And this makes something very useful, is that verification of the quality of information on a model becomes automatic. You can automate the verification. So, to give you an example, we are launching now with one municipality in Portugal a tendering process to build this new complex of housing, and when we issue the public tendering, there's also a file, and we say your models must apply to this file. Okay, so if they try to upload the model and it doesn't comply with the file, it's not delivered. Okay, also in building permitting this can be used, and of course this is very good that you get self-diagnosed before submitting. Okay, so I will accelerate a little bit, but I'm reaching the end of my presentation. Standardization. As I mentioned, we have ISO standards, there's an ARCHETIPO for BIM, we have CM standards, so the European Community for Normalization, there's CNTC 442 for BIM, and of course in each country, I'm sorry, I just copied my countries, we have our own normalization BIM, so here you have Italian standards of course, and I know Italy even has much more standards than many countries, and at some point you will have to remove some of your standards because of the European standards. But all of this is working nicely. And there are many regulations. This slide I use it to scare people. It's not my slide, it's from CoBuilder, the Norwegian company, but they made a really good job saying we have a lot of normalization for a lot of things. The biggest one and the most important for designers, contractors, and etc., for the stakeholders in construction is the ISO 19650, but it relates to a plethora of other standards for combat environments, which is, I call it the Dropbox on steroids that we use for BIM collaboration. The documentation, mapping processes, this is a little bit far-fetched, I will not speak about that. The level of information need. Level of information need is what we do to code this IDS. It will tell you what you need exactly. I want doors with this information, and this is encoded in by IDS, but it's based on a standard, which is the level of information need. And this slide from 2023 is now updated. We have a European standard for this, now it's an ISO standard. Okay, it's ISO 78.7, and of course it's got an Italian flavor because it's a member of a former university of Brescia University, Architectural Planning, that was responsible for most of this. Okay, and then I will just speak about these two things which are very important: data templates and data dictionaries. So this is the important thing that needs to be established for HBM, and it's being established so there are standards to follow. And these standards, if you follow the standards, then everyone who is not even an expert in HBM can validate the good HBM model from the information point of view. Okay? The geometry is a little bit harder, but the information point of view is probably something that can be done relatively easily. And there are many standards, the 3386 and 3387 to do the data templates, and the ISO 1206 to base the data dictionaries. And international data dictionaries can be connected with each other, and this really is an amazing process. Okay? And yes, I also have a BIM. Okay? It's very important to educate owners, be government or be private. Because when you go to a restaurant, you don't ask for nice food. You open the menu and you see what you want. And there's a standard in the menu which tells you, okay, I understand what's coming on the dish. I may request a little bit different, but normally we don't go to too much detail. But in BIM we can go to excessive detail. I want a steak of 233 grams of this diameter, and the cow must have been grown in the Azores Islands in Portugal. I love those cows. And the fries come from somewhere, and they are shaped in this exact format. This is what you must do in BIM. And we need to educate owners to extremely good requirements according to the latest standards. What's happening is committees are being established worldwide to do these ordering standards so that owners will need to be amazing experts in BIM. At least not the government owner at the decision level. So this is, I think, the bottom line of the most important thing that needs to be done. So this is basically my final thoughts. 27 minutes, so it should be okay. Yes, I can speak about this. BIM is possible for HBIM in terms of objects. And this is, I selected this example, this is already from 2018. This is the small architectural office that I told was 4 architects. And they have been doing restoration work. It's not from the historical point of view, they just work with old buildings, okay? But they are working with these very unique architectures, very unique situations of interconnection structures. And they are working already with LiDAR scanning and stuff like that for many years, provided that they have clients that know the value of what they are purchasing. And yes, it's possible in SMEs. And then, this was an SME, but I actually made this on the airplane, so I have no internet to get a logo. But on-site BIM, have you heard of it, or blended BIM? You must. Okay, there's a community of crazy people that do free software, and this has grown to a place where the major community needs to know. Blender BIM, which Blender is for animation, but it was called Blender BIM, but it was renamed to on-site BIM a few months ago, and it's a free software that can handle big models. If you open your IFC models there, it's one of the best IFC viewers around. It's just not as friendly because you need to install and stuff like that with some special packages, but at the end of the day, it's allowing almost to do the same. So what I'm working now with the Portuguese government is to try to figure out how can the public agencies use this open software to use BIM instead of buying a license from the Americans or from the Italians with ARCHETIPO. We don't have a supply of software there. Okay, so that's it. So my final thoughts, and some of them are overlapped with things I already said, but just to sum up. Yeah, I think nobody has questions that BIM is the way to go. Second, owners and governments are aware and they are demanding and they are increasingly demanding more. I spoke about hardware, software, about standards, about interoperability. All of these are currently enablers. They are not challenges, they are enablers. And in historical construction and even archaeology, I also have one colleague of ours, an archaeologist with me at the university. We did some nice things with stratigraphic representations. And the technology is there, we just need to establish the standards. So the biggest challenge is the yellow and red, it's people. We need to have people on board, and many people are afraid because they feel threatened. I'm such, and even I can speak on my behalf, I'm almost 50 years old, I'm getting to be an old person. But the problem is, people that have been operating at high levels all their lives, how can they understand that a 25-year-old will give them something that they cannot actually produce? Okay, I received a big model, but I'm not able to do one. So how can I boss around a person of 25? So this is a generational thing, and I think progressively the problem is disappearing because generations are renewing. So this is very important, and most of the times we are already getting young people from universities with the capacity to do this, so then it's business as usual. I have the pride to say that my master's students, my undergraduate students are not allowed to use CAD at university. We don't allow. It's called obsolete technology, and we don't allow. It's like drawing by hand, they do it, and they do CAD also in the first year just to know what was the old technology, and now they use the new technology. And yes, this is the last aspect that Elena also mentioned, that we are now creating the necessary assets for data to be stored in a permanent way, in a structured way, so that the future of AI can get information from our surveys and everything, and then we very smart decisions based on that. And for that, things such as ontologies and the domain of semantic web are really, really important. And I find myself more and more speaking to people from information management rather than speaking to architects and engineers. But that's why we need to interconnect. And that's it. I really apologize if I ran over the time. Thank you.